This is Let's Talk Teens, a parenting podcast sharing tips on raising amazing teenagers. We are both certified life coaches that have worked with teenagers as coaches, mentors, and teachers. We are sharing what we have found to work best when dealing with teens and tough issues. This is Abbi and Cheree, Let's Talk Teens, episode 41, How to Help Your Teen Avoid Summer Regret.
Abby, I mean, we're already in the thick of summer, right? You're probably hearing if you have teenagers, you're hearing, I'm bored, or you're not really loving how much time they're spending gaming or on their phone, right? I mean, it's a real thing. So let's help you help your teen not have any regrets. I think I just want to start off with this summer story of one of my teenagers that happened one of his summers. I guess I said that funny, but anyway, he was in his teen years and he had all sorts of plans, but he didn't do like he wasn't very intentional about it. They were kind of in his mind. But he ended up like he had a job, but then he'd come home and he would just spend a lot of time on the Xbox and a lot of time, a lot of time, a lot of time. I mean, I had some boundaries, but any free time he could, he would spend on the Xbox. So the end of the summer comes and someone said to him, "Hey, so and so, like, what did you do this summer? What was your highlight?"
Mhm.
And it like just dawned on him, like none of the plans he like had in his mind, all these plans, he was going to do with his friends, all these adventures he was going to go on, all these things he was going to get done, nada, like hardly any. And he was like, I regret the summer. Like I wasted too much of my summer. I spent way too much time on Xbox, right? And he did work a lot. So I mean, I made it sound like he was on Xbox all the time, but he did none of the fun things he wanted to that he thought he'd do in his head. I'll tell you, I didn't even really have to do much parenting the next summer because he like learned his lesson.
I was about to say that's a powerful lesson to learn.
Yeah, because he had major regrets. And so I don't want your teen to have major regrets. And I know as a parent, like I could have said all day long to that child, like, what are you going to do? How can you make the best of your summer? And he would have given me a lot of, probably didn't, he wouldn't have liked it. He wouldn't have responded the way I wanted him to, right? So for him to learn this on his own was so great. But I'm hoping if I can give you parents some ideas, if Abby and I can give you some ideas, you're going to be able to help your teen in a way that maybe they'll receive it. I hope. So let's start off with intention, the power of intention. For my son, it was easy for him to have ideas in his head, but he didn't share them with anyone. He didn't put them on paper. They didn't really become a reality. They were just kind of swirling in his head. So the power of intention partly is write it down, talk about it, make a plan. Like more, it has to get out of your head, right? Have you found that, Abby, with so many things? Like the more we talk about things, the more we're intentional about things, the more we write things down, the more we involve other people. That's where the power lies. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And I think there's so much power in, talking about it, right? Brainstorming, saying, Mom, Dad, I want to do this with my friends and this. But real power comes in when you're like, okay, what's my first step, right? And we write that down or we get them to sign up. I think half the battle with helping our teens have a successful summer is putting things into motion that then they can't like say, oh, well, I'm just gonna play Xbox, but oh, actually, I have to show up at 6, right? Or like somebody's counting on me. So we've put some things into motion that now there's some structure. I think structure is good during the summer too. Like I love that your son had a job, because those things kind of can help us pace out our summer. We want free time, but we also want that structure, that ideology that you were saying of, okay, I've mapped out what I want to do and some of my ideas.
Our human brain just goes right to like he coming from work and he was tired. And so our
Hmm.
brain goes to, I need to relax, I need to rest, right? And our brain is always going to go to that. Our brain is always going to offer us the easiest thing possible or the thing that gives us the most dopamine. So I think like as parents, if I were in that stage right now, I would start the summer, or if I'm in the middle of the summer and my kids are struggling with boredom and being intentional, I'd be like, hey, we're going to have a little night and we're going to all make a summer bucket list. Let's do this. And
Hmm.
we're just going to all write it down and we're going to just brainstorm together some things that we would love to do as a family. And that's where you get your teens involved too. Like, what are some fun things we could do as a family these last little few weeks of summer or these last few months of summer? What are some things that you were hoping to have happen? And then brainstorm and then write down the ideas and maybe write them down as like, okay, here's the things we're going to do as a family. And then I want all of you kids to like write down the things you want to do individually that's just really important to you. Then like see like if it's just their stuff, do you want to invite friends to that or even some of the
Mhm.
family stuff? Do we want to invite other families or other friends or who do we want to involve in this? And the more we talk about it and the more we write it down and make a plan, the better. And I'm a total believer in like writing things down or making posters and putting them on our fridge or putting them on our door to our garage or somewhere where our brain can see that. Our eyes are just seeing it all the time. And it's this reminder of what we want to have happen.
We had at the not even summer, but we one of our New Year's goals was to go fishing more. We went fishing one time last year. It was quite the success with my little kids. And I was like, well, this is ridiculous. Like, we should be doing this more, right? So I have this goal. Well, this week, my sister reached out and she's like, hey, there's this trout farm. I know the girl. They're doing this event. Like, let's go. And guess what my first reaction was, Cheree? I was like, I don't want to go. Like, I'm tired. We just went to Cherry Hill. Like, I don't want to go. But then I remembered, actually, this is like one of my goals. And so just the fact that I had written it down, that we as a family had decided we were making a goal to go fishing more, actually is what propelled me to do it. Because in the moment, I didn't want to do it.
No, of course you didn't. That's that lower brain that's like, I don't want to. And it never wants to because it's trying to conserve energy and wants the easiest possible way, right?
Mhm.
Now, let me ask you this, Abby. After you went fishing and you came home, were you so glad you did it?
Absolutely. And that's like, oh, that's the hard part of teaching your teen of like, sometimes you have to force yourself to do something, even if it's a fun thing. Even if
Yeah.
it's, I was going to call my friends to hang out, but hey, I finished work. I'm really tired. And so it's so hard to force ourselves to do that. But then the dopamine, oh my gosh, I actually went and I had the best time, or we made memories. That's waiting out there. It's that reward. But we do have to get over that hill of, I don't want to do it right now. I'm tired.
Yeah. One of my favorite things to talk through with anything that we don't want to do with my clients is your brain's always going to say, I don't want to. That's a lower default brain, survival brain. I don't want to. Our brain likes ease. We know that when we hear that in our head or we say that I don't want to, we are operating from our lower brain, not our intentional brain. So our amygdala area. And just saying, like realizing, like, of course I don't want to. Like it's okay to not want to. Of course I don't want to go fishing right now. I'm tired of going to Cherry Hill. And I'm going to anyway because it's our goal.
Hmm.
And that's kind of the whole pushing through is not saying, oh, I should want to. No, of course I don't want to. Like this is the humanness in me, and I don't want to. But when I have it written down and when I've made a plan, it's going to help me because I have a why. I have a compelling reason of like, oh, this is why I'm going to go fishing because I have it as a goal. And now because I have a why, that helps me override my lower brain and come back up to my prefrontal cortex or my higher intentional brain. Okay, so have your family write down those ideas. That helped you like get the fishing
Uh-huh.
because it's written down. And then I really love to like even the summer goes so quick. I mean, Abby, you and I were just talking about how fast May went, like so
Yes.
fast, right? And so write it down, set times, set dates, like say, okay, if we want to get these things done, this is how much time we have left of the summer. How can we make sure these things happen? Let's calendar them. Let's set a date for them. Let's set a time for them if we need to. Like and sometimes things change, but if we have some pretty specific days or weeks, it's more likely than just being like, oh, we'll do it sometime. That sometime is never. It just
Mhm.
doesn't happen. So really getting that calendar out, those phones out, however you schedule and get them on there. And like I said, who do we want to invite? Friends, family, how do we want to make this really fun? And then we can look back on that past year or the past summer and have no regrets because we actually accomplished the things we wanted to. And then I think it's a really good idea at the end of the summer to say, hey, let's look back and talk about our favorite things of the summer.
I love that. To like pause and reflect, because if not, then you are gonna like look over some really fun moments of when you were just chilling outside with your siblings, right? When you were just doing smaller things. But if we pause and reflect, that helps us cement some of those memories.
Yeah, it's so, so good. So, summer bucket list, I'm a huge fan personally for myself still, and I'm old. Like, what do I want to do this summer? And I don't have school, but I still feel like there's just some things I can only do in the summer, and I want to have no regrets. How powerful to teach this to our teens, to teach this to our children of like, okay, you get to be the boss of your life. You get to be the writer of your story. What do you want it to look like? Be intentional because that's where life happens and we create the life we want and we can live with no regrets.
Well, and I love that because one of my last thoughts here was it's okay too if what your teens summer, right, and what they want to do and their goals isn't exactly what you thought that they would want or thought that they should do. And I saw this on the last day of school. My little guy was invited to a friend party and I'm friends with the mom. And so I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." And thanks for inviting him. And she's like, "Yeah, I told my kids to like invite everybody." But they were like, "No, mom, I only want to invite one or two people." And I thought, oh, isn't it so funny? Like, this mom's an extrovert and her kids are introverts. And they were like, "Mom, I don't want to invite my whole class. Like, I'm just going to invite one friend because that's overwhelming." So sometimes if your teen's like, "No, mom, my goal is to make as much money as possible and I'm going to work and work and work," that's okay too. Like, as long as there's that intention, which I love that you said, right? Maybe their summer bucket list is I'm going to make $5,000, right? Or whatever that amount is. But if they have a goal, if they have intention, they're going to get to that end of the summer and go, "Yeah, I worked so hard. And let me tell you what that money's for," right? Let me tell you like all these other
Yes.
things. And it's
Yeah.
okay if it's different than we were hoping they would get a job. We were hoping they'd go to the pool more, right? But we can be okay as long as they've got that really great intention behind it.
Yeah, it's their why. It's their compelling why that gives them purpose and reason, and it's powerful. It really is. One last thought, just to kind of wrap this up, that I think is really important to just kind of plug in there with time and summer, and I mean this can all year long it can apply, but I love to talk to my clients about how we spend our time is actually what we value. It's so much like money, right? Sometimes we waste money, but we really usually spend money on the things that we value. And then we learn we waste money and we learn from it. And time is the same way. Like we spend time on what we value, and sometimes we waste our time. And we learn, oh, actually, that's not where I value my time. So I love what you were saying about like for some people, the value will be getting a job and earning money. For some people, it will be, you know, doing a lot with their friends or a lot with their family. And I think it's just important to teach our teens, the power of this intention with a summer bucket list or really anytime is what do I value? Because otherwise my brain is going to default to what's easy, not necessarily what I value. And that's where the waste happens or the regret.
Well, parents, we're so glad that you could join us on our episode today, and we hope that you catch us on our next one. Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Teens with Cheree Murdock and Abbi Winslow. If you are looking for more tips to help your teenager, here's where you can find us. You can find Cheree Murdock on Instagram at Cheree Murdock Coaching or on her website, ChereeMurdock.com. You can find me, Abbi, on Instagram as Abbi Winslow or on my website, AbbiWinslow.com. Please rate and review our podcast and share with a fellow parent. Thanks for listening.